Getting hit multiple times coming out of that bike section. More drivers coming to blows.
Is the brake on your new pedal set not meeting your expectations? If so, let D-Nut Stuff transform your braking experience. D-Nut Stuff has brake mods for Thrustmaster TLCMs, Husingveld Sprints, Mosa SRPs, Fanatec CSL Elite V1 and V2s, SimJack Pros, and UT sets. We are always working on adding new pedal sets and more, so check back often. Does your feet hurt after a session of sim racing? Are you tired of the distraction from sore heels? If so, D-Nut Stuff has the solution for you. Our heel pads add support and comfort for your feet, so those long races are no longer painful. We can make a heel pad for pretty much any pedal set and even add your custom logo. So get one today. You won't regret it.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back here to Slow Motion Broadcasting, and welcome back to the American Muscle Series. This is round number 10 of this season, coming to you tonight from Willow Springs Raceway. My name is Ron Maunz. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Boshell. Joshua Wilkie is our producer for tonight's broadcast. Well, Charles, as we approach the final stanza of this campaign here in Season 10 of AMS, we head to a track that I still feel like is one of the newer ones, but it's actually been around the block here on iRacing for quite some time now. But I adore Willow Springs. I fell in love with this place ever since I first drove it on Project Cars 2. There's really nothing like Willow Springs. It's a flashback from the past that's remained unaltered ever since the 50s. There's some reasons that you can kind of tell that, but this track still has a heck of a lot of character.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. This is a fantastic race track. And yeah, I'm like you. It hasn't been on iRacing for very long, but it is a classic old school racing and testing facility. And they still do a lot of racing here, and it's just a blast. There's so much. This track has a lot of personality, is the best way I can say it. And so the more laps you run here, the more you learn. And this is going to be a really tough test. This is not a track that is going to be necessarily conducive to running a big, old, slow V8 powered muscle car around. So these drivers have their work cut out for them tonight.
Yeah, they're going to have to be muscling these cars around the racetrack, lap in and lap out, not only in this 40-minute long race coming up, but also this qualifying session that these drivers are currently in the midst of. 10 minutes, 3 laps allotted to these racers to try and set the best time that they can. And here's how it stands right now. It's Neil Kemp currently holding on to the provisional pole. Taylor Bellant is currently set to join him on the front row. Now, Taylor, throughout the season, has been able to grab a couple of wins in that pro class, but as of recent has really kicked on the jets, has been able to grab 3 out of the last 4 victories in that pro category, 1 at Bathurst, 1 at Road America, and 1 in the first race at Summit Point last time out. So in terms of that pro class, he's going to be a driver we have to keep tabs on.
Yeah, Ballant's had a good string of races here since I've kind of been a part of this series, and he's been really I won't say dominant's not the word, but really consistently quick there at the top. As we're looking here, is currently second, but only less than 2 tenths behind Kemp, who's currently sitting on pole. But a couple other drivers to watch out for, which we'll run through here just shortly. I think we're gonna get some points laid out. Is that right, what I hear, Josh? All right.
We shall take a little gander at those championship points to see how we stand with only 3 races left to go, and some pretty big ones as well. Got 2 40-minute long races, of course, the one here at Willow Springs here tonight, and then next time out at Silverstone, along with the 60-minute long double point season finale at the Nordschleife. Here's how it stands in the pro class. Kevin Parrish is your current championship points leader. Now, Parrish, your reigning champion here in this series, has been able to grab a boatload of wins, but the last time he was able to grab a W was at Homestead. Jeff Schnackle, meanwhile, only 2 wins so far here in pro, but through consistency, he's currently holding on to second in the points, only 7 back of Parrish, with Taylor Ballant in P3. Matt Malone, who's been popping in occasionally throughout this season, is slotted in 4th. Jay Bast rounds out your top 5 in the pro point standings. You can see the rest of the drivers lined up there. We'll take a look now at the Challenger class, where Matt Thompson is currently holding on to the lead there. He has been uber dominant in that category. 7 wins, I believe, for him up into this point in the season, so certainly a quick competitor there. Mark Cohn is still within a shout of the championship, though, slotted in P2. 9 points is the margin between those drivers. Charles Hosea is in P number 3, with Levi Powell and Freddie Weaver completing your top 5. Also see series admin Edgar Sentinelli, friend of SMB here, slotted in P6. That's how it looks in the Challenger category. We'll also take a quick little gander at the AM class that has been a little bit more set in stone. In the other case of Joe Cicchetti, who has been very dominant, grabbed the opening win of the season in the first race at Imola. I was also able to grab a slew of victories after that, although it was Andy Bell in P2 taking a clean sweep of the wins at Summit Point last time out in those 2 races. He is still a little bit farther back in second in the points. Scott Brooks is in third with Colin Olson, and Andrew Kosick, a friend of SMB through the form of XSLR here on Slow Motion Broadcasting, rounding out your top 5 in the AM class. So we take a look at those points right as we get towards the end of qualifying here tonight, folks. Time has just about exhausted, and we'll be able to take a look at your starting grid in just a couple of moments time and get the juices flowing for what is going to be a thriller of a race here in Southern California, the track that played host to the very first NASCAR Cup Series race in California. No, it wasn't on an oval, it was here on the road course. Neil Kemp will start from the pole. Taylor Ballant will join him on the front row. Fabian Zweyer will be in third next to Jay Bast in fourth. Matt Thompson will grab the Challenger class pole. He'll be starting in fifth next to David Moore in sixth. Brian Kennedy will be in P7 next to Andrew Barreling in eighth. Levi Powell will start this race in ninth with Chuck Labano completing her top 10.
Yeah, Freddie Weaver's going to start in P11. David Finch will start in 12th position. Ron Wolf starts in 13th. Jeff Schnackle starting in 14th. Charlie Hosey starting in 15th. David Fernandez starts in 16th. Andy Bell, pole sitter in the AM class, starts in 17th. Matthew Gazinda starts in 18th. Joe Cicchetti starts in 19th. Ed Sanchinelli 20th. Brandon Smith 21st. Mike Nickum 22nd. Scott Brooks 23rd. Andy Kosick starting in 24th. Michael Brennan starts in P25. P26 is Brandon Carl. 27th is Jeff Andrus. Jeff Besnard starting in 28th. Dave Blair 29th. Tom Went 30th. And John Casey rounds out your 31 car starting grid tonight.
Yes, a 31 driver set to grab the green flag in a couple of moments' time here at Willow Springs. Happy to have all of you tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting here this evening. Our always packed Tuesday night. Stay tuned once we're done with this broadcast. We have more action here on SMB as we cover the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Championship coming up a little bit later on this evening at Twin Ring Motegi. Set to grab that green flag in a couple of moments' time. The drivers already building the revs as we get the green flag out. The drivers are on their way, and we're racing here at Willow Springs. Fantastic start from our pole man of Neil Kemka. Lead him off into turn number 1. A flyer of a start from the German, the number 2 driver of Fabian Zweyer. He's going to jump his way up into second over Taylor Ballant as drivers coming to blows a little bit farther in the back, topping down. That's Scott Brooks, Jeff Andres, and I believe Dave Blair also running into trouble too.
Yeah, a little bit of trouble there coming through out of turn 2 as they work their way up to the Budweiser balcony for the first time. That's the only real issue we've saw so far. Brennan and Scott Brooks falling back about 6 or 7 spots as the rest of the pack seems to be going well. With Kemp in the leads, Zweyer in second, Ballant and Jay Bass, Matt Thompson in P5. Keep an eye on Thompson tonight. He's been doing great in the Challenger class, but this is his I guess we'd say home track. He said he used to live about 15 minutes from here. His driver photo is his Mustang coming off the balcony section. So he's probably fairly familiar with this track. I'm going to guess that's going to make it pretty quick tonight.
Yeah, both only a handful of weeks left to go in this season, less than that. In fact, I think everybody's going to have that mamas and papas attitude. Everybody going to be California dreaming here today. That was a driver going off the circuit. That's David Finch in the 42 machine. He ran wide, hop, skipping a jump off the circuit. He's going off the track. As Joe Cicchetti going to get moved on Andy Bell. That's a swap-a-roo for your AM class lead. Those two have been trading blows throughout this campaign here in season 10 of AMS. Another swap-a-roo there. Cicchetti jumping his way up into 16th as Matt Gazenda also getting a moved on Bell as well. Hey, I'm a poet and I don't know it. At the end of lap 1, though, Neil Kemp doing everything that he needs to do to try and get his first win, I believe, throughout this campaign. He's not been able to visit victory lane in our pro class. Maybe that 99 driver can make a change here and grab this W here in Willow Springs.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got a good run going so far. Was obviously on pole position there for the start of the race, and it's really just kind of setting sail. It's going to be hard to this may not be as bad as some of the other tracks. This may be a track where the draft is probably not going to do as much for them. Obviously, the front straight is a really long draft area. But for the most part, you got to get your car around all these corners, and I think the draft will play a marginal role probably in the mid pack. But up front, I think if you've got a good rhythm here, you can give yourself some room and pick up a couple of seconds on the rest of the field there as we're coming out through turn 9 and back down to the front stretch to start our third lap.
And to flash our collective memory back here on SMB for all of us in the booth, one of the last times I think all three of us were together on the air doing a broadcast here at Willow Springs was for the Ray Esports Weekend Warriors runoffs, as we see some drivers running off the road heading out of turn number 2. Now, even though I'm about 98% sure that I was mildly concussed during that broadcast after a snow shoveling misadventure, shall we call it, I do distinctly remember the Formula V race we had that day and how painfully slow some of the drivers were heading their way around the track, but how awesome the racing was there too. This track is super duper quick, so the draft going to be strong as we take a look at the aerial view to see that moment there. Michael Brennan, a lot of other racers getting caught up in this stack up. Standing starts here in this series, blinking cars as well, some alien abductions around Area 51, and that definitely played a role in that.
It did indeed, and that's the worst part about the blink, the network lag there when you're behind a car. You don't know where he's going to reappear, and that time he reappeared basically locked into your engine compartment. So it just happens sometimes, and luckily that didn't cause more of a more violent, I guess is the word, response from the iRacing system when those cars were found to be interlocked there. We've seen some weird little bit of physics issues from time to time as we got a car off. That's Tom went just riding the edge there, but there was a car off behind as well. I think it was John Casey in the background there. Yep. So just turn 9 is such a tricky corner. 8 and 9 is basically just a giant 180. Really open set of corners there. So we see Casey getting that back under control and pointing it in the right direction. And then 9, if you're on the inside and you take the inside, the very, very tight cornering into the turn 9 apex, there's some compression areas there. You see Casey just getting loose in the rear. It's just very difficult to get all the way through those two corners successfully, time after time after time, trying to carry as much speed as possible.
There's more dramas going on there. Joe Cicchetti from the lead in your AM category has gone off the circuit in the 211 machine. He is careening his way down the running order. That'll give the top spot to Andy Bells. Matt Thompson has also had some trouble. I think it was just a brief alien abduction. He's running in 5th. Your current challenger leader ends up losing a spot. So we take a look at this moment here from Cicchetti. Already a little bit awkward as he hit the inside curve all through turn number 3, and then contact heading out of 4, heading out of the balcony section, and Cicchetti gonna find his way into the dirt mound.
Yeah, it was a little bit offline there. You saw him kind of climb back over the curb, and that's another thing you have to watch out for here. And it just got him offline. He left the door up on the inside. One of the cars tried to go through because he was carrying a little more speed, and saw the contact and get a little bit of a hip check there to push Cicchetti off the track.
Yeah, we jump back to the live action and see this little train of cars. Matt Gazenda is the Pied Piper of this little pack with your current AM-class leader of Andy Bell in P14. And then he's got a lot of inter-class battling there with the likes of Brendan Smith, Mike Nickham, Ed Sancinelli, and Charlie Hosey currently going side by side. That's the fight for 17th at the current moment. They'll look to bring that into turn number 3. Really the first taste these drivers have of a real heavy braking zone. Maybe the only taste they have of a real heavy braking zone. Freddie Weaver nearly getting sent off into the ramp there, heading out of turn number 3, making contact there with the series admin of Sancinelli. That nearly ended in catastrophe for not only 2 drivers running in the same category, but 2 drivers part of that same team and a team owner. Cossack gets spun in the Mosman car.
Yeah, that was a lot of contact there amongst that group fighting for positions, and you see Cossack just rejoining there nice and safely, riding over those curbs to get back onto the track. So yeah, just lots of battling there in the mid pack, just trying to jockey for position. Still already 7 minutes into the race, and they're still trying to find their way around.
As we take a look at the replay, this was the moment here for Freddie Weaver on the 119. You can see him trying to stick it around the outside. The curb whack there. Look at that, flying it like a kite with the 2 inside wheels just up in the air. And that, I gotta say, Charles, and this is honest, when I saw that, I had a vision of a Mustang just rolling into the outside wall.
Yeah, yeah. Well, there was another car that was involved in that as well. That was on his inside that kind of caught the other side, the opposite side curb, and kind of helped him to that line. And yeah, flying through the air, either barrel rolling off the side of that berm, or just jumping it completely, and finding his way into the backside of that wall as riding on board here with Mike Nickham. D-Nut Stuff, the guy in charge there at D-Nut Stuff, and still just looking at their great products here, and I think they've got some new AI rosters that they've kind of curated, and you can see it on our screen there for GT3, GTE, GT4, F3, and PCC. 18 car rosters that will help you learn a little bit about your competition and how they're going to react. So obviously very, very cool stuff. I'm going to check out that F3 one and just see how that's going to behave. That might be one I'll have to purchase on my own.
Yeah, those F3 cars are absolutely fantastic. And as always, we want to thank D-Nut Stuff for making these broadcasts possible here in the American Muscle Series. You've got the rig, the screens, and the passion, but when you're diving into the Corkscrew Laguna Seca, do your pedals feel like a world-class GT3 car or just a toy? It's time to upgrade your immersion with D-Nut Stuff. We specialize in high-performance sim racing mods designed to give you the trail-breaking precision and throttle control that you've been missing. From our legendary DNX and HVD pedal kits to custom spacers and clutch mods, we build gear for racers who demand more than stock. Whether you're a casual Sunday driver or a daily iRacing grinder, our kits for Fanatec, Simpson, or Hurstingveld pedals are engineered to help you find those extra tenths of a second. Stop settling for good enough and start hitting your marks with total confidence. D-Nut Stuff sim racing gear. Serious mods for serious racers. Visit dnutstuff.com and dial your rig in today. We want to thank D-Nut Stuff for making these broadcasts possible here for the American Muscle Series. As we jump back to the action up on the front, you know, Charles, as we've been looking at the fights going on throughout this field, and the field looking like absolute bedlam has descended on them as we get into the final 3 rounds, this top pack fight has a lot left in store.
Yeah, they do. You got the top 4 there of Kemp, Zweyer, Ballant, and Jay Bass. Then a bit of a gap back to David Moore and Matt Thompson, Chuck Labano, Levi Powell. So another 4-car pack just behind them. I'm kind of wondering if Thompson maybe is just kind of caught up behind Moore and can't quite find a way through. But we'll see what happens with him. He's been running pretty close to leader's pace over the last couple of laps here. To get a good view here from the cockpit inside Taylor Ballant's car as we climb up to the Budweiser balcony, and I back down the mountain, and I forgot to bring my my corner names. There's some really good corner names here at Willow Springs, and besides the balcony there's one down here on this section of track. I can't remember it right off the top of my head, but it's a very, very odd one indeed. As they work their way down here in the 8 and 9, the final 2 corners, you see it on the track map there. It's just a big 180, but descends in radius as we come through 9. You want to try and keep that car pretty close to the apex, not necessarily on it, but you see the compression there as the cars just kind of dip down and hide themselves there from that shot as they come through, and it does make that corner very, very difficult to get back on the throttle, because that compression area wants to kind of just push you wide, and that's some of the hesitations with these drivers being able to get back up on the gas quickly enough to take advantage and maybe get a run down the straightaway. So good battle still up here up front, the top 4 with now we've got, what happened here? We got Parr in the pit. Did we get Matt Thompson dropped down to P12, so wonder what happened to Matt.
Yeah, That is odd as Tom went also into the pits as well. So we're hearing that there's been a couple of off tracks here from Matt Thompson. This is big in reference to that Challenger class, a driver who's been really dominant throughout the campaign, probably happy that he's had that dominance through to this point. As you can see the first moment, that was off at turn number 3, once again on the hill of doom and trying to rejoin it there. I thought that car was going to go over. That is so awkward.
I thought that car was going to get hit. That's how close he was to the track. And yeah, I think he just got caught up behind a car that was maybe a bit slower coming up the hill, and maybe a little safe, and just kind of caught Matt out a little bit there, and had to do a little evasive maneuvers over in the dirt. That is one of the good things about this. There's only the balcony itself, and then for the most part, though, plenty of runoff area. If you make a mistake, it is pretty easy to kind of get the car rejoined, except for in the balcony, as we're going to get another replay here. That's Schnackle, Jeff Schnackle, coming out and off of the mountain, and gets that car rejoined pretty nicely, but still running in P10. So he's moving his way up the board ever so slightly since the start of the race, up 4 positions. So Schnackle coming off the win last week in the second race at Summit Point, is looking to pick up some more points here in order to run down Parrish there for the championship lead.
As Levi Powell is currently your top running driver in the Challenger class, but this is not a one-sided fight in that class, as Brian Kennedy, granted he's 9/10 of a second behind, but that is not an insurmountable gap at all at the amount of time we have left, doubly so considering Levi Powell just had a small little wiggle heading down the hill. That was heading out of turn number 6, off down this small little almost straight straightaway. These drivers able to go flat out off through the final 2 turns, as the long meandering corner, the sweeper as they call it, around this racetrack. And everybody's starting to close up to one another. We saw the battles go on in the early stages, drivers throwing bare knuckle fists at each other, but then we kind of hit a stage where those battles are starting to get broken up a little bit. Drivers were either making mistakes or having drivers make mistakes around them, those splitting the battles up somewhat. Now that we find ourselves in a situation where these battles are starting to converge on one another once more, as 2 drivers come down pit lane. That's David Fench and Ed Sancinelli, the duo coming down pit lane at the exact same time.
Yeah, a couple of cars decide they want to try the undercut here and go ahead and get their pit stop done out of the way so they can finish off the race. So we'll see if that helps get a little bit of clean air. See if that allows them to maybe pick up some time on the cars they were battling with before they came in. So we'll see how that all shakes out. Still early in the race yet, 15.5 minutes in. So we'll see how these guys can get on once they get back out there, and they'll have at least they'll have a running buddy for a few laps as they're out there by themselves toward the back, and they'll get a chance to work their way around, and maybe you never can tell, may pick up a couple of positions during the course of the pit cycle.
Yeah, just make up a little bit of time. That's always the easiest way to get a move done. Not have to worry about sending it down the inside or getting some sort of maneuver done out there on the racetrack. It's just a whole lot easier, better for your stress levels as well. Just say, okay, let me do it through the strategy, get it done. Never even have to worry about drawing alongside your competition. Ron Wolf, the latest racer to come down pit lane in the number 19 machine. He comes in from 9th in this field. As to those tuning into this broadcast, kind of wondering off the back of the last 40-minute long race of the season at Road America, why these drivers are coming down pit lane. This is one of those pit stop races. The drivers have to come down pit lane, and many of them have decided to do so. The latest racer to come into the pits being Brandon Smith. We just saw him pull in there right at the back, a shot as we continue to keep tabs on this fight with the likes of Beerling, Nickum, Smith, and Jeff Bernard in the other 248 car. This little 4-car squabble that we have going on here, Charles.
Yeah, absolutely. Good squabble there, as also Freddie Weaver and Michael Brennan in to the pits as well, and taking tires. That's not sure if that's the strategy not sure that's the strategy he had in mind when he came into the pits, but that's obviously going to take a little more time than the other guys that are doing fuel-only stops. So I don't know. Obviously, I have no idea if that's a good strategy or not, but we'll see at the end of the day how it all works out as we're on board there with Brennan. As yes, so no problem. So as we're on board here with the leader, Neil Kemp back up to the front. Got a little bit of lap traffic in front of them as pit stops are happening. So they're come up on some cars that are just trying to get back up to speed. Kemp still leading, Zweyer, Blount, Bass. Kind of wonder if these guys at this point may be doing some fuel saving. Now that they got a nice 6-second gap out to the car in P5, David Moore. So we may be seeing some guys as we get a move here. Is it going to be Zweyer looking to the inside? Is he going to be able to make that run up? I don't think so. It's going to switch back on him, and Kemp's going to remain in P1. And Blount also looking at that with the alternate line through the corner. Just kind of getting the peak, and still everybody standing firm. But kind of wondering now, like I said, if they're maybe doing a little bit of fuel saving here to shorten their pit stops up.
Yeah, gotta wonder what sort of strategies may be afoot here as we keep an eye on Jay Bass, the driver of that 53 car, running right at the tail end of this little train. Side by side, for your race lead though, Neil Kemp and Fabian Zweyer now squabbling up. Zweyer gonna be stuck on the inside line off through turn number 9, gonna have a shallower approach into that final corner. Gonna stall out on the momentum though is Kemp, who's gonna pull down pit lane, make a very abrupt call to come into the pits. This is an old school track, and heading through that final turn, seeing some drivers go on to the pit lane, you can very much so tell that small little checkup gonna give the opportunity for Blount to get a move done down the inside. They bang doors, and Zweyer gonna slide off the racetrack, slide down to P2 as well. Blount gonna get that spot, and now you gotta wonder whether Jay Bass is going to try and stick his nose into this fight here as well. But lots of other racers coming into the pits, along with your at 1 point leader and poleman of Neil Kemp, likes of Matt Thompson, Matt Guzenda, Mike Nickham, Brandon Carl, and Joe Cicchetti all coming down pit lane right now, just around the halfway mark of this race. Drivers coming into the pits en masse, and most of them pulling some intriguing calls, either for fuel. We have seen some drivers pit for tires, but even with these scorching hot track conditions of nearly 100 degrees Fahrenheit, I'm not sure if all 4 is the call. Maybe just swapping some, though, maybe could be good. I believe if you change just 2 tires, you can get away with that and not incur a time loss.
Yeah, I think that's what I was seeing there as we'd had a couple of cars with the left side jacks up, and so they're taking left side tires, which obviously the big sweeper there at the end of the lap, it's probably eating a lot of that outside tire up as they're working their way through. As we're looking at Neil Kemp with first car out after the pit stop, running in 16th, and so 13.3 second stoppage time. That's pretty average, I think, amongst all the cars that have stopped so far. So it looks like that he is going to be in a good position there. No help as far as any kind of draft. So we'll have to see if he can close that gap up to Andrich there, running in 50th. As we got Snackle with a black flag, it's going to be speeding on entry. That's going to hurt. And then David Fernandez, both cars coming into the pit. Jeff Andrews coming into the pit as well. And we're going to get a replay here of Snackle coming around and working his way into. Is that going to be? Yeah, that may be an unsafe pit entry as opposed to a pit speeding violation. So yeah, that may be I think roughly maybe a little bit short of a stop. Or short of a penalty. Maybe only a 25-second penalty versus a 40-second penalty.
Yeah, I still think the difference between those 2 penalties is kind of the difference between figuring out whether you'd want to clear up dog poo or cat poo off of your freshly installed carpet. It's not a good prospect either way, but there is one that you would just ever so slightly prefer. As we did see that replay, though, we saw a Swaparoo up at the front of the field. Fabian Zweyer has been able to jump into that top spot. Taylor Blount dropped down to 3rd as Jay Bass has been holding on to that P2 spot now, as not really been the one going for the moves, but just let the opportunities fall whenever the opportunities have come about as your top two in the challenger class coming into the pits. Levi Powell and Brian Kennedy pitting from 6th and 7th here in this race. As we see them coming down pit lane, I do want to touch on a little thing talking about Jay Bass. They've been running up towards the front really ever since the drop of the green flag, Charles, and they did get one win very early on this season in the rain at the Red Bull Ring. That was only for the 4th round of this season, the 5th race of this campaign here in season 10, as Brian Kennedy gonna have a super duper slow stop there, going to lose out on some time to Levi Powell, going to drive away. Actually not too bad in terms of the stop time itself, but I think may have had some troubles down in pit lane, causing that gap to swell just a little bit. But getting back to the point I was going to raise about Jay Bass before my ADHD kicked in there, Bass grabbed the win at the Red Bull Ring, looking for win number 2. Now, you can't spell Willow with just one W. You need 2, so keep an eye on that number 53 car.
Oh, okay. Some numerology they're throwing here at me. I'm not sure I can handle it, but we'll keep an eye out and see what happens with that that prognostication as we're on board here. Nice little battle here in the toward the back of the field, but these guys are still racing pretty hard. As you got Cicchetti and Brandon Carl and Mike Nickham. Jeff Andrews, I think, is back in this group as well. And you see them still kind of fighting for position there as Nickham in the lovely Petty Blue STP Racing Mustang. I'm sure Richard probably does not appreciate the fact that you put his logo and stuff on a Ford as opposed to a Pontiac, which is what he ran most of the time. But still a nice looking livery nonetheless, as some nice old NASCAR nostalgia as these cars are working their way through the back half of the circuit here. Nickham gets a good run off the mountain, is able to stretch that gap out just a little bit up to about 8/10 over Andrus.
As we saw that battle go on all through the balcony, we did see, not sure whether it would just be like a punch thrown or whether it would be like a pincer movement attempted by the both of them on each other. Michael Brennan had an incident with Brandon Carl. Well, keep an eye on this replay. You'll be able to see the other racing that Joe Cicchetti found himself getting involved in side by side, heading out of turn number 2. I believe that's Rabbits here around this racetrack into the braking zone of turn number 3. The side by side battling goes on between these two, and he gets spooked a teeny tiny bit. Gonna cause a huge checkup, and in that checkout, 3 wide racing gonna go on, and in the cutback there you can see the contact going on there. Brennan Carl with a pretty significant hit there into that inside concrete barrier, and I believe that may have been the reason why he has picked up a meatball flag as well as a black flag. He's pulled it into the pits and probably will have to spend quite some time there both to get repaired and also to get that black flag served.
Yeah, he's going to have to spend a few extra seconds in there as came in a little hot or came in through the dirt as we saw earlier. Either way, gonna get a little slap on the wrist there in the pit lane. As we look at board here, this is David Fernandez, and we've got a nice little battle brewing here as well with Charlie Hosey. You see them working their way down off the mountain around into the sweeper here at the back part of the circuit, and that is, I see Ed Sanchinelli behind them. So Ed's got a good view of this battle coming through turn 9 as they make the run a little bit wide there. That's okay. So it's going well as they're side by side coming down the front stretch, and somebody's going to have to give here. This is a track, I will say this, the track is wide enough that you can run side by side most parts. It gets a little tricky up at the balcony, but otherwise you can fight this for a big part of the lap.
Yeah, and even in these rather mahoosive Mustangs, you can still get that move done. The one thing that has always intrigued me about these cars ever since I first got the opportunity to see racing with them many moons ago, funnily enough, it was on a old Matt Malone stream back before I even had dreams of grandeur of even being an iRacing announcer and eventually covering the series that he was racing in. When I got the opportunity to see these cars, I was honestly shocked that they raced as well as they did. But they do race quite well, and even though they are quite big, they can still go side by side, as you mentioned, Charles, just about every single part of the racetrack around here, as we've had the pit stops go on, and we've had a swap-a-roo. Fabian Zweyer came down pit lane and has lost out on the presumptive race lead to Neil Kemp, and it's by some margin as well. I was wondering what the deal was going to be between those racers when they came out of the pits. And I gotta say here, Charles, and this is honest, I think that time loss primarily came in the pit stall itself. We saw a 13.3 second stop from Neil Kemp compared to Fabian Zweyer, who spent 14.1 seconds down pit lane. Now, considering the pit lap difference between those two, it was about 5 laps, the difference between Kemp coming in and Zweyer coming in 5 laps later. The fact is, pit time was that much slower. That's a kick in the shins.
It kind of is, yeah. So, yeah, you can see the gap now 1.6 as we still have a couple of cars up front. Labano now coming into the pits. Chuck having a good run, was running in 6th place for the vast majority of the first half of the race. And he's coming in for his stop. That leaves Belant, Bass, and I believe Andy Bell. And then Bailing is in the pits now. So 3 cars yet to pit up at the front. We do still have Dave Blair and Andy Cossack running in 12th and 13th that have not made their pit stops yet. That's allowed them to move up 17 and 11 positions respectively. But they'll have to come in here in short order as well. And I believe I saw, nope, neither one of them came in. So that's Bailing on his pit stop. So we'll see where he comes out in relation to the rest of the field. And still have about 3 more to go as Andy Bell leading in that AM class up in P3, but 25 seconds off the front 2 as they're continuing on and working their way around. And 28, almost 29 minutes, kind of wondering if this may be the last one, as we see a car taking a little bit of a shortcut there coming around through turn 9. Cutting a bit of that corner. He's probably going to get a nice significant slowdown for his troubles there as he gets it back onto the track and now comes into the pits. So that is, I believe, Andrus coming into the pits just behind Jay Bass. So now there are only 2, Belant and Bell, still yet to pit.
Yeah, I was wondering what the deal was there with Andrus as he was heading his way off through that final turn on the inside. I saw the porta potty, thought it was a bathroom break, now just losing control and pulling it into pit lane. 2nd and 3rd now coming into the pits, not only Jay Bass, but also your current AM class leader of Andy Bell, who's been on a rather good run of form as of late, was able to grab 2 wins at Summit Point. Now, of course, we heard in the YouTube chat earlier on that Joe Cicchetti missed out on those races because he was sick, and nice to see him back out here on the racetrack for this round. But Bell has been the only driver in that AM category to grab multiple wins outside of Joe Cicchetti. The only other racer outside of those two to grab a win in that class is Merle Eschman, who was able to grab a 24th place result and the class win in the 2nd race at Imola all the way back at the start of this campaign here in Season 10. So Andy Bell has certainly been a driver to keep tabs on and is going to exit out even in the midst of a little bit of battling with a somewhat comfortable lead in that AM class.
Yeah, he's 6 positions ahead of Besnard in 19th. Looks like it's about, 12, 13 seconds on track. So, yeah, nice comfortable lead as our leader comes in for his stop.
Yeah, so your race leader down pit lane, Taylor Belant in that 21 machine. Gonna keep tabs to see how he exits out compared to the likes of Kemp, Zweyer, and Bass that have already come out. We saw those drivers close to one another, packed in like sardines before the pit stops came around. However, they've kind of spread out a teeny tiny bit. Let's see if Belant finds himself in a little cushion or whether he can maximize this run down pit lane. Stopped up in the pit box he is right now. What sort of pit time is it? Past 11 seconds, just barely past 11 seconds. 11.7. This may be close with himself and Kemp. Certainly gonna be close with himself and Zweyer as he heads that pit lane. Desperately tries to cut back onto the racing line. That was definitely a little bit cheeky. That's gonna be a rolling roadblock move there, but Belant gonna exit out with the lead.
Yeah, good, nice, aggressive entry back off of the pit road and takes the lead, but you see the cars there. They're all together as Kemp is only a quarter second behind, Zweyer a half second behind him, and Jay Bass with a little bit of work to do, but still pretty close And as these guys start to fight a little bit, he'll be able to make up some of that time. So this may be a 4-car battle and maybe more, depending on how much these guys want to fight over the final 8 minutes of this race.
Yeah, so this is getting spicy with only 8 minutes left to go on the clock. Your top three covered by just about nothing. It was some close quarters maneuvering between these racers and a very good call to pit for Taylor Ballant that's been able to gift him that spot. But before the racing gets too hot out there on the racetrack, we want to tell you about some of the hot food that you can get at one of the other fantastic sponsors that we have here in the American Muscle Series, that being Chiba Hut. Look, we've all been there. You're staring at a menu of sad, cold corporate sandwiches and thinking, there's got to be something better than this. At Chiba Hut, we've been flipping the bird to the status quo since 1998. We're not just making sandwiches, we're curing the munchies with the dankest toasted subs on the planet. From our signature White Widow to the Cali Mist, every sub is homegrown, toasted to perfection, and served up in a joint where you can actually relax. Need to kill that con math? We've got local craft beers on tap and plenty of Kool-Aid to keep you hydrated. Whether you're stopping in or we're flying it to your door, we've got exactly what you need to stay stoked. Chiba Hut Toasted Subs. Swing by our shop in your area or order online. Chiba Hut, toasted since '98. And now, with all the business taken care of, Chiba. I like that. The nice little chant there going. We may have to incorporate that in the ad read in the final 2 weeks of the show. I want to thank Chiba as well as D-Nut Stuff for being the proud partners of the American Muscle Series here in Season 10 and making these broadcasts possible in slow motion broadcasting. And to all of you tuning in, we've got one heck of a treat for us to try and sink our teeth into with only 6.5 minutes, less than that now on the clock, Charles. We've got a battle for the race lead, the battle, of course, being the lead in pro. We've also got a battle for the lead in the challenge class between Brian Kennedy and Levi Powell.
Yeah, Levi Powell really starting to ramp up the pressure on Kennedy here. Battle for P7 in the overall, but obviously class victory here with a nice 5.5 second gap over Thompson. So they want to be very careful that they don't end up screwing up their races as they're got about, four, I was going to say, 4 laps left or something like that. So we may be 3 to go when we come back around the next time. So they got to be very careful. But obviously, Levi wants that position, and looks like on my timing tower, looks like he's going to try and take it down the front stretch.
Oh, that's getting dicey between your top three, specifically the 2 cars at the tail end of that fight, Zweyer and Kemp squabbling up and allowing Ballant to drive off into the sunset. Zweyer with a huge curb whack into the inside of turn number 3, nearly shot off the road, but instead he's going to hold on to second, but allowed that gap for Ballant to grow to the tune of 1.1 seconds. Those small little incremental gains will make up to be a huge difference come time for the end of this. Meanwhile, Levi Powell, Brian Kennedy, the battling is still going on, and as you said at the time, Charles, here was the way that Levi Powell was able to get the move done, looking around the outside into turn number 1, battle the last late breakers, and Powell going to sweep around the outside to take that spot.
Yeah, absolutely. Great move on the outside there. You can do that at turn 1. A little bit of camber in the track to help you hang on to that outside line, and it's gave Powell the position. But still, Kennedy right there in his mirrors, only 7/10 back as they come around the sweepers. One more time here with we got a car off the track in the back there. I think that's could not see who that was. Maybe it was maybe a lap down car as we're looking here at the battle between Moore and Labano. Battle for P5, and Labano once again still been racy, running in P6, and I think Moore and Labano have been probably the most steady of the two of the most steady cars out on the track. They really haven't done any swapping around. They've just been racing. But now, or let's just say, they've been lapping. Now it's time to do some racing here as we've got 4 minutes left in this race, and now Labano wants to get that P5. He wants to get a good result here as best he can, and Moore is probably not going to make it easy for him as they work their way up to the balcony.
So, we are in the Wild West, so off the back of seeing that car go wide heading out of the final turn, we'll just say that car was a skinwalker. We still have this battle right now for P5, though. David Moore and Chuck Labano. Labano, a driver that I've gotten the opportunity to cover in various different types of racing here on slow motion broadcasting, whether it be here in the American Muscle Series, in these FR 500 Mustangs, whether it be as well in the Ray Esports Club Racing League or some of the various Ray Esports action here on slow motion broadcasting. I've even got the opportunity to do some race control in events that he was a part of in GT3 and GT4 machinery. I know him to be a very fast racer, looking to flex those muscles as we get into the final 3 minutes. He's right now only 3.5 tenths of a second behind David Moore. With less than 3 minutes to go, though, it looks like Ballant may be able to hold on to that lead overall lead in this race. Ballant, who last time in this series was able to get a win, was at the first heat race of Summit Point last time out. So it's not going to feel like a very long wait between victories for Ballant.
No, it's not, as he's starting to stretch that gap up to almost 2 seconds now over Zweyer. So he is really starting to put the hammer down here and make his gap. Bass dropped off, still running in third, Kemp in fourth. David Moore, Chuck Lobano still locked in their battle, so that's the one of the closest battles on track, along with Bailing and Wolf there, and Finch and Gazinda. So a nice little 4-car pack still going on there, just outside, right at the edge of the top 10. So still a few more battles left on track, and more positions to be won or lost here as we have. I think this is going to be, where are we at on the track? I'm trying to guess. Probably going to be 2 to go with the line. It's going to be very, very close, though.
Yeah, it's certainly going to be borderline as to when we are going to see that checkered flag fall, but we know one thing for certain, and that is it's coming up fast, and it's probably going to go the way of Taylor Ballant with 1.5 minutes left to go as they came across the stripe. I believe it is just barely 2 laps left to go here in this race. It will be close. I don't know why. It always happens here at Willow Springs. Every single time I've covered a race here, whether it be in Spec Racer Ford, Formula V, Mustang, or Porsche Cup machinery, it is always the same deal of it getting very, very tense as we get towards the end as to when the race is actually going to get called.
Yeah, absolutely. Is definitely it was too close for me to call. I did not see Barney in the flag stand, so I think it is 2 to go. But we'll work our way around here with, we're still on board here with Zweyer, just trying to see if he can find a 10th or 2 here, maybe close the gap down by a half second or so. If he can get down to that 1 second range over the next lap, he's got a chance to do something, but he's got to really, really focus forward and just start just running as hard as he can over these last 2 laps. And we'll see how that all works out. I don't know that he's going to have enough here. Ballant looks like he's on a mission, as now we've got a little bit of gap. Lobano's falling back a little bit off of Moore. That's the battle for P5, as we've got a nice battle here. Charlie Hosey and David Fernandez heading up the balcony, and you can see Hosey getting a good run up the hill. And we'll see if Fernandez is able to close it back down coming down the hill, as now we are on our white flag lap.
Yes, the white flag officially in the air for Taylor Ballant. 1 more lap of racing action left to go, and he gets that white flag with a 2.1 second margin between himself and Fabian Zweyer. Looks like Zweyer will be denied in the attempt at grabbing a victory. Jay Bast will look to round out your podium, and Neil Kemp, I think it's, I wouldn't say a bitter way for his race to go. It was just some strategy going on around him that ended up losing him some time and not really getting the elbows out in the battles. But it's still been a very exciting race that these drivers have treated us to here tonight. From the battling for your overall lead in the pro category, or the battling for the lead in Challenger, or the battles that have gone on in AM, Willow Springs has treated us to an absolute banger. But for Taylor Ballant, it's been a fantastic drive for him as he heads his way off through 8 and 9. That's the sweeper for the final time here in this race. He's got to look to hit those apexes, kiss those curbs as gently as you can, give him a good night kiss, and hit the final 2 races of this season with a lot of momentum on his side. Taylor Ballant heads his way onto that start-finish straightaway to grab the victory here at Willow Springs. There's a checkered flag for the number 21 car. He is victorious here in the California sunshine. Waiting for the rest of your podium to come across the stripe, there's Fabian Zweyer next across the line. Jay Bass will complete your podium in third. Neil Kemp, somewhat disappointed to finish this race in fourth, as Levi Powell will come towards the line, the 103 machine, to win the race in the Challenger category. In tune for Levi, getting his first win of the season, the 103 for the Wholesome Community Esports stable. Gonna grab the win. Brian Kennedy ends up in a very close second. Matt Thompson, who's been dominant throughout this campaign, even with a couple of rally moments, will still round at your Challenger class podium, as Andy Bell looks to make it 3 in a row here in this series in the AM class. He comes across the line at 14th to win the race in the AMs. Bell grabs the W in the category, but Ballant grabs the W overall.
Yeah, great racing tonight, and you can see that we had it was actually the attrition rate was a little bit lower than I was expecting, so we had a couple of cars drop out, but some great racing up front, and they held it together. Then the pit stops kind of separated them out a little bit, and Ballant with a great victory. Powell looked pretty dominant there in the late stages, and a nice easy victory in the AM class for Andy Bell. So great racing by our class winners tonight, and great racing all over the place. I mean, it was battles in the front, the mid pack, battles toward the back of the pack, and everybody was trying to get what they could get, and it all worked out in the end for Taylor Ballant.
As we see Ballant burn it down, or try and burn it down on that start-finish straightaway, give some donuts. Let's click it off into slow motion here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. There we go, and take a look at your race results here for round number 10 of Season 10 of the American Muscle Series. I want to thank you all for tuning into the action. If you have enjoyed it, hit that subscribe button so you never miss out on the racing action. Don't miss out on the season finale coming up in just 2 weeks' time. Taylor Ballant grabs the victory over Fabian Zweyer in P2. Jay Bass will complete your podium in third. Neil Kemp will be classed in fourth. David Moore rounds out your overall top 5. Chuck Labano will be classed directly behind in P6, with Levi Powell winning in the Challenger category, ending up in 7th. Brian Kennedy will be in 8th, with Matt Thompson in 9th, and Andrew Belling completing your top 10.
Yeah, Ron Wolf finishes in 11th. David Finch 12th. Matthew Gazinda in 13th. Andy Bell taking the amateur class victory in 14th. Charlie Hosey finishes in 15th. David Fernandez in 16th. Brandon Smith 17th. Ed Sanchinelli finishing in 18th. Mike Nickham finishes in 19th. Michael Brennan finishes in 20th. Jeff Bessner finishes in 21st. Joe Cicchetti finishes in 22nd. Dave Blair 23rd. Andy Cossack 24th. Scott Brooks 25th. And Tom Went 26th. Jeff Schnackle finishes in 27th. 28th is John Casey. Jeff Andrus finishes in 29th. Brandon Carl in 30th. And Freddie Weaver finishes in 31st. And we see here another replay here of Taylor Ballant making some D-nuts here at the end of the race.
Again, with all the results looked at, let's move off into the post-race interviews before we round off tonight's coverage here. Let's start with our race winner, Taylor Ballant, joining us here in the broadcast booth. Taylor, welcome in. Congratulations on the victory. That looked like a pretty fun race there at Willow Springs. How was it from your side behind the wheel?
Well, I'll tell you what, it was a pretty fun race. We had a good time. Overall, we definitely had, can you guys hear me okay?
Yep, we got you 5x5.
Okay, all right, just checking. You know, we were duking it out there at the front. I was pretty happy to just take a little bit of a relaxed start there and sit in third place, following Fabian and Neil, letting them burn up the tires and the fuel up front. Was really taking it easy on the tires and was able to save enough fuel to take a little bit shorter pit stop. And yeah, ended up getting me the race win. So
yeah, works out super duper well for you. And it's funny that I said the whole 5x5 comment, because that's your 5th race win here this season. Must be feeling good as we head off into the second to last round of the season at Silverstone next time out.
wow, that's 5. Wow, that's incredible. Yeah, it feels like this season has just flown by. It's been a ton of fun battling with everybody. It seems like every week there's like a new person that's kind of like super quick at that track up at the front. So it's fun to mix it up with these guys week after week. I hope they keep coming, keep showing up, and you know, long live American Muscle Series, man. This league is just awesome. I love racing here every Tuesday night.
Yeah, it's also our treat here on these broadcasts to cover the action because you drivers gave us a fantastic treat to sink our teeth into here tonight. But Taylor, before we let you go and celebrate, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Yeah, absolutely. I like to shout out Fabian whenever he shows up in a race. I know I don't know exactly what time it is for him, but I know it's sometime early in the morning, I believe, for him to come do these races. So I appreciate the fact that he's willing to stay up that late or get up that early or whatever he does to come race with us. Every time I've raced with that guy, he's been a super class act and just really fun to race against him. Another example tonight. And then just shout out to my mom as well. I know she loves watching these broadcasts, watching the races on my live stream, and shout out to all my followers on my stream as well. Thanks, guys.
Well, there you go. Taylor, thank you for joining us here in the booth, and we will catch you next time out at Silverstone.
Thanks. See you guys.
And that right there was Taylor Ballant, our race winner here tonight. Charles, I'll pass the mic off to you to have a chat with our P2 finisher of Levi Powell, not P2, our Challenger class winner, pardon me, P1 in class of Levi Powell.
Yeah, let's bring Levi in here. Levi, congratulations on the Challenger class victory tonight. Tough battle between you, Brian Kennedy, and Matt Thompson, seemingly for the entire race.
I was just catching Matt, and then it snapped on him on that uphill left-hander, and I was a little bummed that he fell back a ways. But Brian kept me honest, and him and I went too wide for half a lap, and we almost let Matt catch back up to us.
That is one of the. You can do too wide here at this track, but one of the drawbacks is you're doing it at not quite the same pace you were one wide, and the cars behind get a chance to make a little catch up. But so. Tell me what it feels like trying to drive a very old school car on a very old school racetrack.
I don't know what it is. Something about this track and this car, it just clicks for me. Once you get the rhythm, and I mean, everybody in this league loves this car. You know, this car is great to drive, and yeah, it's just something about this track. It just clicks. It feels great. You just got to have that right amount of touch in the brake and not let that last corner deceive you. I let it do it to me once. I almost threw it away.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Levi, congratulations again on your class victory. And Silverstone next week, I can't think of a stranger combination than a very, very fast, flat track and this car. So what are your thoughts about that going into next week's round?
Actually, I didn't know it was Silverstone next week. I'm not super familiar with Silverstone, so it'll be interesting. That's for sure.
Yeah, there we go.
I'll have to put in some more practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Levi, congratulations again. We'll let you give you a chance to give any thanks before we let you go celebrate your class victory tonight.
Thank you. Just thank you to you guys for putting on the broadcast. Thanks for Ed and Mike Nickham for carrying on with this league, and thanks Chiba Hut for taking on the sponsorship for us. And yeah, I think that's about it.
All right, Levi. Thank you, and thank you for coming in, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, thank you guys. See you next week.
All right.
And that right there was your Challenger class winner of Levi Powell joining us here in the booth. And that made me come up with a good idea. Let's run Silverstone or some British racetrack for the 4th of July. That would be fun. Celebrate the 250th anniversary of King George III's L crash out. Well, let's have a chat with Andy Bell, who grabs the W here at Willow Springs. Andy, welcome into the booth. Congratulations on the win in the AM category. That's now 3 wins in a row for you in your class. How was it out there here tonight?
Oh, it was a fun track to learn. It was definitely my first this week, but I really enjoyed learning it. Really liked the track. Definitely a tough one, but that's what I like. And then managed to qualify all right. And then in all the traffic in lap 1 and started lap 2, Joe was right there with me, and then around me, and was looking forward to a battle with him before I watched him leave the track. So that was unfortunate. It made the rest of it at least a little more low pressure. And then the tires get hot and you start sliding around and hope you can just keep it on track. But other than a little bit of fuel hiccups, everything went well from there.
Yeah, it looked to be a rather smooth night, a comfortable lead in the class come time for the end. And as I said, your third win in a row in the AM category. Next time out there, we're going to be running at Silverstone, a very different kettle of fish from this racetrack. What are your thoughts heading there?
Oh, I've always struggled there, but looking forward to it as always, and should be a good time.
Yeah, that it certainly will. And what may be an odd combination, but a fun one nonetheless. But Andy, before we let you go and celebrate this class win, we'll let you give any thank yous or shout outs.
Oh, just a shout out to all the folks watching, and shout out for the league and everyone showing up. And of course, Ed and Mike continuing this league on and making it possible along with everyone else showing up, including Slow Motion Broadcasting doing this for us. It's a great time. Appreciate it.
Yeah, and it is our treat bringing the action to life. And of course, you drivers give us a whole lot of action to talk about week in and week out. Andy, thank you for joining us, and we will see you next time at Silverstone.
Thank you.
Andy Bell, our AM class winner here tonight. But Charles, we're treated to a good one here at Willow Springs.
Yeah.
Final thoughts before we wrap things up.
Yeah, great stuff tonight. Looking forward to next week.
Thank you very much right there. That right there is my colleague, Charles Boshell. We've also been graced with greatness in the YouTube chat. Hello, Randall, former series admin in the American Muscle Series, one of our colleagues and all the founding fathers here at Slow Motion Broadcasting. Hello, Randall. Hope you enjoyed the action. Hopefully all of you enjoyed the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Doesn't stop, though. Coming up later on tonight, we have got the action from the Sim Racers Group Formula 4 Series. Practice is already underway. Qualifying will be starting soon, and coverage will begin momentarily. As soon as this broadcast wraps, you'll be directed right over to that show. So you don't even need to press a button, don't even need to lift a muscle to stay tuned with all the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting. Next time out, we'll be at Silverstone for this series, and we hope to see you all there. But for myself, Ron Maunz, Charles Boshell joining me in the broadcast booth, and Joshua Wilkie working all the cameras and the graphics in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for tuning into the action here on Slow Motion Broadcasting tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.
Chiba.